Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Delta Green tabletop role-playing game rules by Arc Dream Publishing. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Listeners should know that this podcast will include mature themes and scenes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, military organizations, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living, dead, or redacted, is completely coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your handler. Thank you for joining us again in another episode of the Old Ways Podcast. I am your handler this evening, Michael Diamond, and we are back with our home series to find out a little bit more after the last operation what our agents are up to. And so I will pass the microphone to our agent in question this evening to have them introduce themselves.
Hey, it's me, Miranda, aka Dr. Erin Webber. Not that kind of doctor, but sometimes that kind of doctor.
Indeed. And it's just them, which is great. So we get to hear a little bit more about Dr. Webber and what she has been up to. So I'll just lay a little bit of groundwork for her so she understands where we're at and what we're doing. This is post-op. So she has returned home, which can, of course, be a little bit tumultuous sometimes. And she's indicated she'd like to get a couple of things done in this home session. We'll get to each one of those. But before, I want to let her know that this is going to cover an indeterminate amount of time. So we're not going to put any hard, fast length on anything we do here, which will give us sort of the maximum allowable amount of time. We might need a lot of time. We might need a little time, but you're going to get some time. So you return back from the operation with effectively a trophy, a body, depending upon how you want to consider it. I'd like to know what you do with it initially.
And I don't remember if we said it in the last episode, but it's definitely what I was thinking. And I think we said it, but it's going right in the freezer, wrapped in a way that makes it seem like a large hunk of meat that you just you can't see what it is. Hopefully Holly doesn't, get curious and try to make dinner because that would be kind of startling. But it is, I want to wrap it up and put it in the fridge. Maybe in some butcher paper or freezer. Freeze it.
Okay, yeah. Probably butcher paper, bags. You don't have a Ziploc bag large enough for it. So since I don't believe the doctor has a chest freezer called out already, I will just say that at least for the initial few days, weeks, etc., it's going to dominate part of your freezer.
Yeah, we have for dinner the next night, we do that thing where it's all the stuff that's in your freezer that you haven't eaten in a while and it's half-filled boxes. We make all of those, and we have a fridge cootery board.
Oh.
Freezer cootery board. And that's what we have for dinner. Clear out some space.
I'm sure Holly appreciates the mozzarella sticks, chicken strips, peas, and flavor pops and whatnot.
Freezer burnt pizza rolls. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. You find a place to stow this thing, and then to what steps do you take afterwards to deal with it? Where are you going to do any sort of examination or work?
I will wait until... I don't want to take this thing out. I will wait until Holly is going to be gone for a period of time. When she's at school, that's you got a solid chunk of hours there. And I will probably dissect it, do a little autopsy. Probably, in the kitchen, because a lot of washable surfaces in the kitchen. The knives are right there, so there's no reason why not. And before I do that, I might even go to the library and get an anatomy book, do some searching on anatomy for raccoons and monkeys and all sorts of different things. But if I have a book, I can kind of flip through it and kind of look some stuff up, because like I said, I'm a doctor, but I'm not that kind of doctor. I don't have anything in biology. It's all chemistry and physics and ornithology. So if this thing's built like a fucking bird, I am there. But I don't think that it is.
It is not. You do have a couple things going for you. So your computer science is 60.
Mm-hmm.
So you're very familiar with computers. As we've talked before on the show, you were sort of one of those first employees that had a standard ISDN line in at their house because you did a lot of work from the home before the move. And then now here in New York, you've been able to sort of build up your own computer, probably have several different encyclopedias on CD. So I'm not so much worried about you obtaining the anatomy books or the anatomy of a raccoon, which is really at least the starting place with this creature, it seems like. Where you're probably going to fall just slightly short is that whole biology end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a couple of options in front of you. You have the option of perhaps what I'll call tapping a reference, which is attempting to utilize bureaucracy to get some insight into ground mammals from the scientific community outside of books. You could do that. With your bureaucracy of 40, that would be a roll. So it wouldn't be just a gimme. Other than that, you could make a general science roll to do the autopsy. That will be the roll. But obviously without any direct biology, it's going to come at a penalty for you. Unless, of course, you want to take time and invest time in it. And that would be something like, we're going to invest a certain number of weeks in an autopsy back and forth, and I'm going to dedicate time maybe vacation time. I'm going to dedicate maybe time when Holly's out of the house with, your ex-husband, Adam. And then I could reduce the penalty for the science roll that you're making, because you're going to basically make it over time, spend some time researching, and then that'll help us sort of study the unnatural portion.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings because I can picture both myself being this scientist that drags it out and studies it and does a very thorough job, but also I'm very intrigued and there's an itch I really want to scratch. And I think Dr. Erin Webber might get a little frantic with this thing. And this is not going to be a drug out, methodical, scientific. I mean, it's a dissection, which I'm not really used to. And so I think that, and it's exciting because it's new, but also creepy because of where we found this thing. So I think Dr. Erin Webber is going to, at the first chance she can, get a little bit antsy about this thing and start slicing and dicing. And she would probably make notes as she goes, maybe take pictures. If she needs to, I think she has friends in the scientific community. I mean, ornithology is just a cousin of biology and other animals. So I may know some veterinarians for all my birds, friends in the business that I could ask vague questions that make me sound like a total nut job.
Certainly.
I think that's what I've landed on.
Yeah, I think it's great that you're gonna sort of push that thrill of discovery portion of Weber's framework, and you're not gonna give in, right? Like, yes, the op is over, but to you, in this instance, it's not over until you decide it's over. Part of the complication with doing this dissection is going to be handling this body, because they are rather large. They were described a lot as similar to raccoons in the fact that they had those types of feet or close to those types of feet, and they had the body which moved close to the ground. But really it's that furry head that is intriguing, and it's going to cause some sort of complication along the way, because you're not really working on something that is even close to known mammalian standards. And there is a significant difference between mammals and avians as far as just general species differences, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One has hollow bones, the other does not.
Yeah.
So if you're going to press forward, right? Prometheus looking to steal fire from the gods, I'm going to give you a science roll. I'm going to give you this roll at a 30% penalty. Each science is a separate skill.
It's like my ornithology at -30 because only part of it relates. And I've probably taken some base level biology classes as part of that ornithology degree.
Oh, okay, so you have ornithology at what, 50?
That's correct.
Okay, so here's what I'll say. Because it does have to deal with an animal which has bones within its body, right? You're not dealing with something that's completely alien. I will give you a 30% penalty to this roll. But if you decide to take and gather all of those materials and talk to somebody who might be able to assist you a little bit within the community,
Hmm.
I'll lessen that penalty to 20%.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, is that I likely have some contacts. I mean, I am part of the Ornithologists Association of the Greater New York State Upper State area,
Certainly.
other related animals. And I imagine there are other bird enthusiasts that are also in this group that maybe are zookeepers or veterinarians that I know I've met at our many monthly meetings. I've formed friendships with them, and I mean, as much as a friend as someone can be to Erin, and I would call them and be like, "Hey, strange question. I found this animal. Just I had a dog with my car or a raccoon, but it looks different, and I just had some questions for you. If you had some times, I can send you some pictures. I'm just trying to pinpoint what this part here is, and does this look like it's in the right place? And is this a kidney? But it looks like it should be over here, but there's 7 of them, and various things like that."
I'm good with giving you a minus 20 to the roll. I will say that there is a chance, and this is something that Dr. Webber would be aware of. There is a chance that pictures she may have sent, especially media, that she may have sent to this person or these people, it does open up a gap then when it comes to evidence of the conspiracy. And so she'd be taking that risk as well.
Yeah, and I think that this itch is so intense. Erin was so intrigued by these things and invested in finding this out that she would risk it.
Okay.
She cannot help herself.
Okay. I mean, I'm all for it. So I'll have you make the roll.
Roll a 24.
Okay, so 24 under your skill of 30 after the penalty is a success.
Yes.
And so you take the time, and it does take time. So you move up from what is essentially the creature's pelvis, and then you create your incision. The really tough part about this is, of course, the beast it hasn't been bled, right? So you're dealing with the fluids as you cut into it. You have to bring it back up to temperature too. And that means that it's going to be, listen, your kitchen is going to be gross.
Mm-hmm. I got the biggest pot I can with some warm water, and I have it in a bag, and I'm soaking it in that water to bring it up to temp.
Yeah, and you are in a hazmat suit probably.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have more than enough chemistry to have suits made for handling caustic material. You'd probably don that and walk around like Darth Vader in your living room.
My hazmat Sunday best, yeah.
That's right. So you move up and make a Y incision and begin peeling back the layers of this creature. So the matted fur is attached to fairly thick skin. The incision reveals that the creature has a full, you wouldn't even say standard rib cage, but a full rib cage, and then there's a clear breastbone and hardened collarbone all the way up to and around the creature's shoulders. So you can see that there's almost heavy bone reinforcement likely to hold up the head. It has multiple organs that are not even listed in this picture or these books that you've gotten. Encyclopedia Britannica is struggling to understand what you've picked your way into. And also, too, keep in mind that this creature was killed. And so you're also dealing with the fact that it's been shot or maybe even shot and bitten by Agent Hart. You think you see some teeth marks on this one. But you do a full accounting of its inner organs. It has a heart, it has lungs, bladder, likely something that looks like a pancreas, kidneys. It has 2 sets of kidneys, almost like a tree. A set that is larger, and then there's a smaller one near the bottom. It has sex organs. It looks like that they're fairly deep within the body cavity before being used. It reminds you a little bit like a dog in that regard. The bones here are not brittle, as you might expect for a small creature. These bones are fairly sturdy, especially femur, patella, tibia. The lower portion of this creature is pretty powerfully built. And again, that could be expressed by the fact that it has to hold up an enormous head by comparison. The head is filled. I assume you're going all the way, Dr. Webber.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no holding back at this point. I'm in it to win it.
Okay. So you have to get out some different tools. You have to get out some things to help you get into the rest of it. You've managed to secure what is in effect a bone saw, a circular saw made to cut bone. And with high-speed work, you cut through the skull plate and then eventually expose the top portion of the skull and the brain. And that is where curiosity abounds, because its brain looks nothing like what you would expect. There's an awful lot of fluid that leaks out of the skull, and it sort of coats the place that you have it matting or whatever you've laid down to keep this thing from making a complete mess. Or you brought in like a Rubbermaid tub to hold your creation. But the brain is not 2 equal parts like a human brain is. There are 4 distinct hemispheres in this brain. It almost looks like they're inserted and then they meld together. They look like 4, the best way I'll put it, and it's a terrible analogy, but they look like 4 cans of Thanksgiving canned cranberries. They're vertical and definitely wrinkly, and they come out in different sections. And they're also that sort of consistency too, where like you pick the first one up and you feel like it trying to tear itself apart. And so you put it back in and look at some of them. The eyes are one of the most interesting things that you look at, because they're twice as large as you would expect for a creature this size. Obviously the head is larger, but the eyes are filled with a strange yellowy fluid. It's almost phosphorescent. You get a little bit on one pair of your gloves, and when you do, you realize that your glove starts to change shape, which to you in the chemistry world is bad news. You have to run to like get that thing under control or change it off, and within seconds little tiny bits of fungus have grown on it and pocked that glove, and then a minute or so later the fingers are missing from that glove as this stuff has eaten away at the fingers.
I think that freaks Erin out quite a bit. She's pretty careful with these things, so the contamination risk that this is run. I'm gonna have to get out the really big, thick gloves now. Fuck, did it touch anything? Did it, like, I'm looking through all the surfaces to make sure there's nothing that is like leaked out, touched my, I don't know, floors or countertop, like things that are going to be susceptible to whatever this acidic nastiness is.
Yeah, you have a serious problem on your hand now, Dr. Webber. Not just on the glove, but on the actual container that you're doing this in. You see that stuff has colored one side of the lower portion of this Rubbermaid tub that the body is in, and you begin to get concerned that it's going to eat through that plastic and then thus onto your dining room table.
Oh, fuck. I'm like panicking a little bit. I would look for something around. Now, it's not just discoloring, it's like kind of acidic too, right?
Yep.
Erin is in a panic,
Hmm.
and she's gonna do something that a chemist would not do. I'm going to try to find something in my house that would neutralize an acid. Base neutralizes an acid, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yep. So I'm gonna grab good old 2%. I panic a bit, and I'm gonna do the thing that no, I think chemists in their right mind would probably actually do, but maybe you would actually do, because this is the chemistry kicking in. I need to neutralize this acid, and I'm going to open up my cupboards, find the baking soda, and see if I can use that to neutralize whatever this is. And knowing that this is a very risky move because I don't actually know what this substance is. All I know is it's acidic, and I'm hoping I can neutralize it, but I don't know how it's going to react to me throwing sodium bicarbonate on it.
All right. I would like you to make a chemistry roll for me. I'm going to put you at a 20% penalty for this roll because you've never dealt with this before.
Yeah. I rolled a 40.
Okay. 40 clearly under your skill of
80 minus 20 is 60.
So you manage to cup the right amount of baking soda in your hand, and you deposit it very carefully on the places where this yellowy, dingy pockmark has appeared. And it does seem to slow, and eventually it eats at the baking soda a little bit, and it forms these yellowy, almost cauliflower clumps, but it doesn't ruin your table. Although you will probably need a new Rubbermaid at this point because this thing's foul as hell.
Luckily, those are easy enough to get my hands on, so thank goodness. Whew, close call.
So we'll say that you spend the better part of at least a school day, if not more, doing this procedure. We'll say it's a Friday and Holly gets picked up by Adam at school and they have the weekend, and this is your weekend of the month or whatever it is off. Between the research and between the going back and forth between a colleague and the actual work on it, it does cost you about 2 to 3 days of vacation time, which is no small amount.
Yeah.
But that said, you do learn something about the unnatural. Okay, so here's how this works. Everything in life is a trade-off. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. So it is going to raise your unnatural skill.
Okay.
And I am going to raise it. But now you, Dr. Webber, have to pick which bond this affects.
Oh.
Because I'm going to roll for your unnatural, and it will also affect your bond by that much.
Yeah. You know what? I think Adam and Holly have suffered enough. I think I'm going to have to sacrifice Jessica Rhodes, my sister. Surprise.
Right. Okay, so I'm fine with that, but now you have to do one thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how.
Jessica is the one that I sent the pictures to. It would make sense for both of us to go into the sciences. It would make sense for us to be interested in similar things. Maybe she lives up, in New York, like upstate, and that's how I kind of got involved in that ornithology group. But she went more into the biologies, and I went into, chemistry, but I'm still interested in animals, and I think she's the one I sent the weird pictures to.
Fair enough. So the way this will affect the bond with her, minus the fact that the bond will be affected by the amount of unnatural that you get, it will go down by that same amount.
Mm-hmm.
The way it's going to affect her specifically is that in the story, she will have been asking you questions about what you're doing, about why you're doing this, about what this actually is. And Erin will have been evasive.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly downright mean.
Why won't you just give me the information I need to know, Jessica? Look, I'm asking you simple questions. If you can't answer simple questions, then I don't know what good you are to me right now. Now, all I need is you to tell me what this is in this picture.
Right. And and Jessica, of course, in her own way, harps back at you, wants to know more, pokes, prods, and Erin puts up a wall And that's what affects this bond. Now the question is, how much?
None of her fucking business.
So I'm going to drop that bond by 4 points.
Okay.
I'm going to give you in exchange 4 points of the unnatural.
Okay.
So that's serious damage to this bond.
Yeah.
That is I don't want to talk to you. Don't come to holiday meals.
That's 50% of my bond with her.
Yes. Pooh.
Yeah, we said some mean things in those exchanges. I brought up a lot of things from our childhood.
Yeah, I think it's probably even reasonable to believe that Jessica came over to your house because she was worried about what you were doing, and she knows you're home, and you didn't let her in. You didn't answer the door. You ignored your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first portion of what changed for you. One of the other things that we need to get to is injuries. So Dr. Webber suffered a fairly serious injury in game. At the last operation, she hurt her leg. I think specifically, if memory serves correctly, she hurt her knee.
I tore my ACL.
You did. So it will put her a little bit on a road to recovery. It will take some time. So during this entire experience with the autopsy, she has likely been foregoing surgery on her ACL because this is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what we'll say is, after the autopsy and after all the back and forth with your sister Jessica, you finally go in to see the doctor because you simply can't deal with the pain. And you've been slugging painkillers for the better part of 2 or 3 weeks at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor tells you that you're going to have surgery on it to properly fix it. It isn't your ACL at all, actually. It's the MCL and PCL. So you have major ligament damage to 2 ligaments in your knee, and the doctor tells you that if you don't have surgery on it, you likely will be looking forward to knee surgery later in your life, and it's the best thing for you.
I concede. I have some downtime now. I have plenty of time to think about things, and I better get it taken care of before, I don't know, the phone rings again or someone shows up on my doorstep.
So you had talked about, before coming into this home session, the other thing, if you had an opportunity to work on, you wanted to be able to fulfill your responsibilities. And one of the responsibilities you want to fill is that of being a mother to your daughter, Holly.
Mm-hmm, might as well. And I have time because I have a lot of downtime because I'm wounded. And so I think that gives us a lot of time to spend time together at home. I will take an interest in things that she's interested in and go from there.
Okay. So functionally speaking, just the systematic stuff is, this is a sand test.
To be around my child?
Well, to be around your child to the point where you can improve a bond,
Mm-hmm.
it is a sand test.
Okay.
And so the way that plays out for you is that Holly's interested in a lot of things, but one of the things that she has been most interested in is some very, we'll just say, girly things at her age.
Mm-hmm.
And what she really wants to do is go to glamour shots. And she wants to be able to get pictures and get done up and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I do. I mean, that is honestly the best way to make a connection with a child, like, that you care about or want to show that you care about them, is to be interested in the things that they're interested in. So
yeah,
be interested in them because they're interested in them. And that's what I'm going to do with Holly. Is we're going to glamour shots. We're going shopping before. We're going to glamour shots. I'm pretty sure they do your hair and makeup there for glamour shots. But if not, we will go somewhere probably in the mall. We're in the mall. Glamour shots in the mall.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, we're doing a mall day. I'm on crutches, but that's okay. We'll do it up. We'll rent some movies that night, some like really girly rom-com movies. We'll do that. We'll go get pedicures, whatever. We got time.
So when she started out in this story, Holly was 11?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a couple of years now, which means she's probably 13. So go ahead and roll sanity for me.
For glamour shots.
Well, I mean, any parent that's been there probably would agree.
Well, Michael Diamond. My current SAN is a 42, and I rolled a 99. I know. I know. Poor Holly. I'm trying, Holly. Holly, I'm really trying.
Okay. So you go to do your absolute level best. And there is just one thing after another that day at Glamour Shots. Things do not go well. The beautician, the woman working, doesn't give Holly the treatment you were expecting. The pictures do not turn out well. You can tell she doesn't want to be there. And everything just snowballs. They don't have the movies that you want to rent. The candy that you buy, popcorn and stuff you buy, it was actually sitting on the Blockbuster shelf for like a good 3 weeks, and so it's stale, and it just ends in a really, really terrible night. And it fractures the two of you when she brings up to you the fact that she can't seem to ever see Aunt Jessica, and she doesn't understand what's wrong and why the two of you are fighting. And she liked the family better when everyone's together, and she misses her dad. And she literally just goes down the Plinko board of things that she can hit you with. And as a parent, it crushes you.
And I don't think that Erin handles it well. And I think she gets mad and she says things along the lines of, "Can't you see I'm fucking trying my best here? I had this whole damn day planned, Holly. This whole day planned for us. And it's not my goddamn fault that all of this happened. Okay? I'm trying."
Yeah, you play a series of rather unfortunate cards to your child. You heap them with a bunch of adult stress that they don't know how to process or understand. And so by the time you're done getting your emotions out, your skin is flushed, Holly is in tears, you have no idea whether or not anything has registered with her, and you snap out of it when her bedroom door slams. And it costs you 4 points of your bond with your daughter.
Oh no.
And you lose a point of sanity.
Yeah, that puts me down at 2 with Holly. Someone's gonna request to live with their dad soon. Ugh.
So this, of course, also has a snowball effect.
Mm-hmm. Of course it does.
In the coming months, you get a really poor review at work. Your attention to detail has lapsed. Your time at work, your time investment has not been what it is supposed to be. And because of budgetary guts, you lose your job.
Fuck. Great.
Now, as far as the grand conspiracy goes, it doesn't matter to them whether or not you have a job.
Yeah, Delta Green doesn't fucking pay, do they?
They don't pay, and they also don't care.
Maybe they not pay, but maybe starting to start skimming off the top here a little bit here.
So I'm going to ask you to make a charisma ×5 roll in percentages. So your charisma is 8, so you'll have to roll 40 or lower.
Okay, that's actually not, well, no, that's not good. Because it's a 6. Okay, so 60.
Okay.
Which is over 40, obviously.
It is. You're not able in the coming months after losing your job to recover. And so that is going to cause a little bit of a challenge. What I will give you is a persuade or bureaucracy test. And then if you would like, you can tell me how Dr. Webber would either convince them to keep you on as a third-party resource or like an independent contractor. This is essentially you pleading with your boss for some type of work because you're in New York and you've got to have a job. You're a sole income person. So what would Webber do to try to keep her job?
So what Dr. Erin Webber would do is, her argument would be like, I'm an asset. Obviously, they moved me up here. The company invested in me. A lot's been going on. Obviously, I just had surgery. That's not my fault. It was obviously an accident. Who knows if some of that was caused by stress put on me here at work. Just saying. And I don't have to be on every project, but they could, put me on some. There has to be something that they need a chemist of my caliber to help with. I will list off my specialties and my mini degrees and the many businesses that I've worked with and people that I've worked with and people that I may be close with at work that would pull for me. And I'll say, I know that I've been unreliable at times lately. The workload is just too high. But I'm happy to stay. I want to stay on. I want to work here, but I just need to cut back. I understand that will result in lower pay, but if I really just, I want to consult on projects. I want to work on projects, but maybe not all of the projects, just things where my expertise can really be utilized.
Okay. So that sounds to me like a persuade roll rather than a bureaucracy roll. So
yeah, it's worse than it's the worst of the two, but
yeah. So I think it's a persuade roll because I think that she's speaking from a position of passion, right? She's seen this thing start to unravel, right? It isn't like, oh, my boss is going to get me fired. Well, I'm going to go above his head and I'm going to type this report and I'm going to say, hey, here's this legal injunction. You're got to keep me. So yeah, that's why I think it's persuade.
Okay. Ooh, 47 over 20.
Okay. So in the end, your boss doesn't have the ability to keep you on. He lauds your record for the most part, rather than except for the last 6 months. He's just said that, in effect, the corporate structure as it is devolving today, everything has to be agile, everything has to be lean. That's the way they want to run everything. And I don't get a lot of choice. With the economy being what it is, all I can say is that if we have work for you in the future, you're certainly on my list of people that I would contact. But for the here and now, this is a good day.
I appreciate it. And I just kind of hang my head and turn and walk away. It's like a sad walk my butt down to the unemployment office.
As you do, though, there are some tests that have to be made now.
Okay.
So losing your job has an effect in the system as far as your bonds.
Great. I'm sure it does.
It does. So it affects all of your relationships. And so what you'll need to do is make me 4 consecutive charisma rolls for each one of your bonds.
Oh, the mighty is fallen. Shelby's barking. Okay, so I'm just going to go top down because that makes the most sense because I didn't call them out. So my charisma is 40. So for Adam, I rolled a 59.
Okay.
Jessica, my sister, I rolled a 6.
Good.
Thank goodness. Holly, please. I rolled a 20. Phyllis and Stephen Rhodes, my parents, I rolled a 78.
Okay. So here's what happens. Your relationship with Adam becomes more strained. You're forced to move from the place that you're in now to something smaller. It is something that you do not want to have to give up, but you have no choice. During that time, Adam has to take Holly way more often than he normally would. And what is almost worse about it is Adam wants to take Holly more because he's worried about how stable you are. And so you lose 2 points of bond with Adam because he doesn't trust you. And he says as much. Luckily for you, your relationship with your sister doesn't get any worse. It could, but it doesn't at this time. Nor does your relationship with your daughter, which is on the brink.
Thank goodness.
Your parents, however, begin hearing stories. They begin hearing from Jessica directly. And when you get a call from your mother, at one point, she asks where this whole business with your sister started. And you have to endure a 35-minute phone call of your mom trying to unspin this yarn. And you eventually get so frustrated that you eventually blow off your mom and say that you have to go because you can't really take it anymore. You have things to do and a new apartment to find and things to sell. before you get your next gig, because unemployment's only going to pay you so much.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like a cushy teaching job. I mean, it's college. I can cancel classes and shit if I need to take off. So,
Okay, now that all that's over, make me a sand roll.
okay. Did I lose points for Adam and my parents then? How many points did I lose?
Yeah, so you lose 2 points from Adam and 2 points from your parents.
Okay. Great. I rolled an 80, which is above my SAN of 41.
You're okay. So now your sanity's a flat 40 because you lose a point of sanity during this whole process.
Okay.
So this process isn't a week, a month, etc. This is several months in the life of Dr. Erin Webber. And we get, in one way, an interesting portion at the front, but things roll downhill from there. And we leave you then in this space, this small apartment that you've managed to rent, wondering about what happens next. I'm sure we'll get to that in the future, but that's our look in on our home session with Dr. Erin Webber, as played by the wonderful Miranda.
Sure.
And anything else that you'd like to say in closing?
I don't think so. I think this has been a real rough ride for Dr. Erin Webber. I don't know what more there is to say for her, honestly.
Well, I'm sure that the next operation will solve everything.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure things are gonna be great. Well, I'm sure it'll go real great next time.
Thanks, everybody, and good night.